Episode 139 of Australia's #1 marketing show. In this little bonus episode, the Content Marketing Institute's Joe Polizzi and I explain exactly how to launch into a content marketing strategy by getting clear on your editorial mission.
Welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, where successful small business owners share their secrets to take your marketing to the next level. Now here's your host, Tim Reid.
G'day everyone, and welcome back to Australia's favourite small business marketing show. I am your host, Timbo Reid. You right there are a very motivated small business owner. You're going to be even more motivated after what I am about to tell you and share with you. And we are brought to you by the very, very good folk at netregistry.com.au who are there to get your business sorted online. Now, guys, this is a little bit of a bonus episode. My gift to you, the motivated small business owner. I alluded to in last week's episode, or the episode I put up earlier this week, I should say, that there was going to be a little bonus episode, and here it is. I stuck to me promise. In episode 125, a few weeks ago, I interviewed Joe Polizzi, who is the founder and the runner of the Content Marketing Institute in the United States of America. Fantastic source of all things content marketing related. And if you are a regular listener to the show, you are listening to content. You are listening to content right now. And I talk a lot in the show and on my Deep Dive Mastermind and in my forum about content marketing and what a great strategy it is for any small business to adopt. So here's the thing. Joe and I went into depth about all aspects of content marketing in episode 125. It was a very well-received episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show, and it raised as many questions as it answered because there is a lot to the strategy of content marketing. Let me explain what that is briefly so that you know what I'm talking about in case you haven't listened to episode 125. Content marketing is based on the principle that us small business owners are standing on a mountain of knowledge, right? We know a lot about what it is that we do in our business. So if you're a vet, you know a lot about veterinary. If you're a masseur, you know a lot about pain and how the human body works. If you are a marketing guy, then you know a lot about marketing, etc., etc. So, and here's the choice we have to make. We can either keep all that knowledge and content close to our chest and only share it with people who are good enough to give us money, or we can say, you know what, I'm going to share my knowledge openly in the hope that it will position me as a thought leader, an opinion leader, an expert in my industry, and it will attract prospects and customers towards me. It will build my business. Now, that's what I've been doing for a number of years now with the Small Business Big Marketing Show. This podcast is an example of content. Content is not a new marketing strategy. People have been writing books for thousands of years. What has happened, though, of recent years is that the ability to create content as a small business owner is becoming infinitely easier. So it is easy to put a podcast together these days. It is easy to embark on a video marketing strategy. It is easy to start blogging or to start a forum, whatever it may be. So therein lies the challenge. If it is easy and therefore more people are doing it, the challenge and the point of difference is making sure that what you have to say, that your content is of a very high quality and is of interest to your best mates, your target audience, those people who have the highest propensity to want to do business with you. Okay? So that all comes back to that principle that I bang on about ad infinitum, which is get your message right first before you worry about where to put it, which many small business owners don't kind of acknowledge or haven't been told about. They race in to getting a website or they race into an advertising campaign before they worry about where to put it. So that brings us to today's fireside chat with Joe Polizzi from the Content Marketing Institute. One of the questions that continued to race around my mind and that of the listeners who approach me via email or other forms of contact was, okay, Tim, so I love the idea of content marketing. I am standing on a mountain of knowledge in the industry in which I operate. I do want to go down that content marketing strategy. I have decided to blog or I've decided to podcast or whatever it is, but how do I figure out what it is that I talk about? Now, that concept is called identifying your editorial mission, all right? And it's a really important concept, and that's what today's fireside chat with Joe is all about. Once you identify your editorial mission, it becomes incredibly easy to identify and to create and to source content that meets exactly what you and your business are all about. Okay, so this is a real hands-on, meat and three veg interview where you are going to walk away knowing exactly what your editorial mission is all about, because then it's kind of like a filter. You know, all of a sudden, once you know your editorial mission, you can then filter content ideas through that, and they're either going to be on or they're going to be off, on brand or off brand. Okay, so look, I won't go into any more detail because that's exactly what this chat with Joe's all about. Now, here is the thing. You are going to, as a listener of the Small Business Show, get this bonus. You are going to get half the bonus, okay? I'm going to share about half this interview because I put this interview together originally for members of the Small Business Big Marketing Forum, right? It's part of being a member. It's the privilege of being a member. It's what you get. But it is such a good interview. It is such a good fireside chat. There's so much gold there that I just wanted to at least share half of it. Okay, so even in half of it, you are going to get some marketing gold. You are going to be on your way to content marketing nirvana. However, if you want to get the whole of it and you really want to up your marketing efforts anyway, then you're going to have to join the Small Business Big Marketing Forum, which you can find at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Click on the products page or the button on the right-hand side that says forum and join. Guys, it's $49 a month recurring. That is all. I am in there every day answering questions. There are other motivated small business owners in there answering questions, posing questions. It's just a great place to keep your marketing energy up and to get ideas and to keep motivated and to take action, to even become accountable to others. It's a fantastic place to do it. Again, that's a form of content creation. That is a marketing strategy of mine, to have a forum to, again, create additional content and to find additional sources of content to bang on about in the future. So I encourage you to join the forum. Enough of that. Here is my fireside chat with Joe Polizzi, founder of the Content Marketing Institute of America, and we discuss the importance of getting to your editorial mission. Joe Polizzi, head of the Content Marketing Institute of the World. Welcome back to Small Business Big Marketing.
Tim, it's always happy to be back with you. I'm enjoying our time, the first time we spent, and happy to talk with you this time as well.
Love it, mate. Well, last time we spoke, episode 125 for our listeners. Guys, seriously, go back to that. I mean, I often talk, Joe, in my show about marketing gems dripping from the headquarters of the Small Business Big Marketing Studio. But boy, oh boy, that episode is full of them. So go back to that. But you were actually just heading to Australia to run your first live event of the Content Marketing Institute. Quick one, how'd it go?
Oh, yeah, it went fantastic. We did Content Marketing World Sydney, which is our Asia-oriented event, and we had a couple hundred delegates out there talking about content marketing. We had a lot of big brands that were there, so we were fairly excited, and everybody was. What I liked the most about it, Tim, was people were so appreciative that we, made our trek from the States out to do the event in Sydney, and then now we've got the big show, our big show, Content Marketing World, where we'll have about 1,500 delegates come out to Cleveland, Ohio. That's in September 9th through 12th coming up. So now we're gearing up for that event.
You told me before we hit the record button on that, and I looked at my diary, and I have got something that I cannot move on September 11, and that is killing me, because I promised myself at the start of the year I'd train more, do more training, get out and about. But anyway, that's life.
Well, it's funny. We had about 35 people come from Australia last year to the event. So we're probably see 50 or so this year. That'll be nice.
Close to the time, we will push that puppy. Don't worry about that. Now, Joe, we're here to talk editorial missions. However, before we do that, what is new? What's kind of top of mind? If I said to you, what's new in the world of content marketing?
Tim, it's moved way faster than I ever anticipated. When I started kicking around the term content marketing, boy, it was back in 2001, and it really started to take off in, 08, 09, and brands were starting to really start to think about, boy, we've got all these channels now that we can communicate directly with customers. What are we going to put in those channels? But we are seeing brands really start to take this seriously. Now, don't get me wrong, Tim. There's still for the most part, brands are not doing it the right way because they're not thinking like publishers. They're still thinking like traditional sales and marketing machines.
Yep.
But we're getting to that point where content marketing is starting to be looked at as a serious discipline. So from that standpoint, it's pretty exciting. But Tim, just still a long way to go.
I was sort of chuffed. Coke putting together their 2020 strategy, which has gone from being a creative strategy to a content marketing strategy. It's a 20-minute 2-part video on YouTube. For mine, I don't know whether you can comment on this, Joe, but it was it was full of jargon. I'll say it nicely. It was full of jargon.
Well, here's the deal with that. That was never meant to be sent outside. That was not. It's not for the out. That was only an internal piece of marketing communications. And Jonathan Mildenhall, who's the sort of chief content officer for Coca-Cola, moved over from the creative side, did that specifically so he could get all their agencies, and they work with how many agencies they work with? They literally hundreds of agencies, and then all their internal marketing people on the same page. And that was basically a Jerry Maguire mission statement that he put the flag in the ground and said, look, here's where we're headed, and all you people need to know it. And it just happened to get out. So
did.
That's internal Coca-Cola jargon that we shouldn't even care about.
Oh, that's interesting, because when I watched it, and I have posted this on the smallbusinessbigmarketing.com website, but when I did post it and watched it for the first time, I thought, that's just internal stuff, and yet it's on YouTube. It's got 1 million views or however many views it's got. That's interesting. So that explains that.
Yeah, it just real quickly, it was posted by an agency who put all that together from the look and feel of it. I mean, Jonathan Mildenhall from Coke was the narrator of it, but I think they just used it as a case study, and it got out, and I don't think it was ever supposed to get out.
So Joe, you're saying it's moving on faster than you'd ever expect. Is there one thing that is there a new tool? Is there a new channel? Is there a new way? Something that comes to mind that's just kind of seems to have grabbed your attention at the moment?
It's interesting. I'm out sort of talking a lot about SlideShare these days. It still amazes me for those people that don't use SlideShare, which is sort of the YouTube for PowerPoints. I'm amazed by the amount of companies that don't look at that channel or are just simply unaware of using that channel.
You mentioned that last time.
That's Absolutely. The one thing. Yeah, the other thing is just, and I know we'll probably talk about that, is just the sheer lack of strategy. I've done about 65. I know you do a ton of keynotes. I've spoken at well over 60 places over the last year. And I ask the question everywhere, how many of you have some kind of documented content marketing strategy? And everywhere I go, it's less than 10%. Just a smattering of hands go up. And it's a real problem.
Is that a small business audience you're talking about?
No, this is every size. That's small business, mid-market, large brands. They're all just what I call filling buckets. They see channels and they need to they need to put content in it, but there's really no strategy behind it.
I think for the small business owner, which is people listening to this, I find that really reassuring, because often we think, the big guys have got it sorted. Bullshit.
Oh, no, absolutely. Well, I'm a small business guy too. I mean, I of course run a small business, and what I love about the whole concept and discipline of content marketing is it really is a David versus Goliath matchup where David can win. Because it's all about, in a lot of cases, it's about speed, efficiency, and getting out of your own way. And big brands, it's very tough for them to change the way that they've been doing things for so long. And that's where if you're a small business right now, you have an advantage over them, I believe, when it comes to content marketing.
Well, there's a slide in my keynote, and I've got a number of screenshots of this where my show, the Small Business Big Marketing Show, is ranking number 1 in the iTunes store. Number 2 is Apple. Number 3 is Harvard Business School. Number 4 is the Australian Stock Exchange. And it's like, you know what? That's called punching way above your marketing weight.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Now, Joe,
That's
let's
great.
talk about why we're here. This concept, I really want to dig deep, and I want listeners to walk away from the end of this fireside chat that I'm having with you about this editorial mission. So let's go. So, content marketing is what you sell. It's not what you stand for. That's a Joe Polizzi quote, and I love that. So does that mean that your editorial mission is simply what a business stands for?
I think it goes yes and no. I think it goes beyond sort of the mission statement of the organization. But if you're thinking about what your editorial mission statement, or what I call a content marketing mission statement, should be, there's really two whys when you get into this. And I think it's important to break it down, especially where you want to take this, Tim. First is, when you think about the why of you'd ever do some kind of content marketing program, really think about it just like you would any other marketing program. Is this something that you're doing for brand awareness? Is it for sales generation? Is it for lead generation? Is it customer retention? Really think about why you want to do any kind of content marketing program. The second thing, which is the most important why, and when we come to what the content marketing mission statement is, what's really in it for the readership, for the audience? So if you're thinking like a publisher, if you think a lot like, let's say you're the leading trade magazine in your industry, the first thing that you do is, well, what's our editorial mission? Because you've got to figure out what's going to separate your message from everything else that's out there that's competing with your consumers for attention. Because they can go anywhere. They don't have to talk to you, and they don't care about your products or services in any way. They care about themselves. How do we get them to care about us? So that's really creating a content marketing mission statement. And if you don't mind, I could just go through the three parts of it, because I think it's really important.
Go for
There's
it.
three different parts to a content marketing mission statement. First is, who is that core audience that you're talking to? As a small business, you probably target, let's say you could target CEOs and CFOs and plant operations specialists, whatever the case is. Well, for your content program, you have a specific target audience. Figure out who that is. Let's just say it's business owners, and this entrepreneurs and business owners. Okay, that's number one. Number two, what are you going to deliver? Hopefully something around very useful information, very useful resources, maybe something entertaining, maybe something inspirational. Remember, it's about them, it's not about you. So you're not going to say, I'm going to deliver online demonstrations, or I'm going to tell them 17 different things about this product. You know what? We have a lot of that content, and they probably don't necessarily care about that content all day long. So let's focus on something that they do care about. And then the third, which is the most important part of your mission statement, is what's the outcome for the audience? So you know what your outcome is, right? You want some kind of call to action that's going to drive sales, retention, whatever, make happier customers, whatever the thought is. But this is the most important. What do you want them to accomplish? Are you trying to help them become a more profitable company? Are you trying to help them get a better job? Are you trying to help them have a better life? Whatever your business is, that's the most important. And that's what we build our entire content strategy around, is what's going to be in it for in this case, our reader or our audience.
So Small Business Big Marketing's mission statement for a while now has been marketing inspirations for small service-based businesses to grow. Well, that's kind of where I'd finish, and I'm going to add something now because you need an outcome. So it's to grow their business through smart marketing.
That's exactly right. That's the thing that I think we often forget, because when we think about our content strategies, we often get hung up with what our goals are. Which we have, of course, we have goals, but then we fill our content around what our goals are. So then we'll say, oh, we have to drive more leads. So then our content becomes product specific or benefit specific or feature specific, and then we've got to remember that while that content's important, it's important about 1% of the time. Most of the time, your customers are not ready to buy yet. So if they're not ready to buy, or they already bought and you're trying to take them to the next level and have them become product evangelists for your brand evangelists, you need different kinds of content. And that content's got to take them places from an emotional standpoint or from a psychological standpoint, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so I get that. Now, this is where I start to get confused, and it may purely be a semantic kind of confusion, but there's a lot of terminology out there, Joe, And I have come across some varying lengths of what are called mission statements. So first of all, the terminology. Let's get clear here. We are talking about an editorial mission statement. I love that term, and I love the fact that it's an old publishing term, and that analogy just is so simple. If you're gonna start a trade magazine, you're gonna start any magazine, you've got to have an editorial mission to define what content is going to fill the pages. That makes sense.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But however, there is a whole lot of other jargon out there, and let me share the jargon with you that marketers have created. Mission statements, vision statements, purpose statements, why, our why, the Simon Sinek, why. Your answer to so what do you do, which is something that I talk about a lot. You've got to get that very quick, succinct answer to so what do you do. Now, some of them are good. I love the why concept. I love getting the quick answer to so what do you do. But, mission statements, vision statements, purpose statements, they seem to sit on the shelf and gather dust and no one remembers them.
Well, if that's the case, then, then in this case, this is what you want to use let's just call it an editorial mission, because I'll stick with your jargon over my jargon. The purpose of this, let's say that you create this and you put it on the wall and you say, okay, my goal is to target business owners with useful information on a daily basis so they can help them grow their businesses. Probably similar to what you're trying to do, Tim.
Yep.
You have that, and I want everyone in to come up with that, what feels right for their culture and their organization. And every person in your organization that creates some form of content should have that in front of them at all times. Because before you sit down, and a lot of us are having our employees create content on social media sites and blogs and whatnot, and very few of them know what the editorial mission is. Well, how can you create any content unless you know what that is, so you really visualize what we're trying to do and what benefits we're trying to give for our customers? So this is the useful part of it. Don't put it on a shelf. Make a printout of it. Put a picture to it. I don't care what you have to do, and tape it up right in front of your PC or your Mac or whatever the case is, and look at that. So every time that we are going to create that content, we're very thoughtful about who we're targeting and why we're doing this, so we can see the bigger picture.
Do you think the editorial mission is an internal directive, or is it something you would share with your customers?
It could be just internal. I like the fact that, for example, there's a company here in Boston, in the States, called OpenView Venture Partners. They're a VC company, venture capital company, and very small company, about 40 employees. They do about 90% of those employees create some form of content for the organization. On their content site, they have, if you go to the About Us page, they will tell you specifically why the site exists, and essentially it's their mission statement. It's like,
right.
we are a VC company. Here's who we target. Like, here's what we do. But this site is about you. It's about giving you, the latest and secrets for operational success, how you can become a more profitable enterprise, how, if you're ready to find money, you can get the best resources to do that. And they say, this is the content we're talking about. So basically that helps people coming to that site, but it's really helpful for the people that are creating content for that site as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So now listen, I've read a few of your blogs on the Content Marketing Institute's site about editorial mission, and they seem to come, you've identified a couple. One is Southwest Airlines, and the other one is Procter & Gamble's HomemadeSimple.com. Now, they're both listed on your blog as kind of editorial mission statements. One's short and succinct. The other, I think, is really long and full of what I would call motherhood. It's a motherhood statement, if you like. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to get your view on, I don't know, what's the question here? Which one's closer to an editorial mission? So Southwest Airlines' mission statement or editorial mission is to democratize the travel experience. And I get that. That seems to make sense. It doesn't tick your three boxes in the sense of, but it's, I get, anything, therefore, any content that they create needs to be about democratizing the travel experience. Procter & Gamble's, on the other hand, seems to be fairly long-winded. It's for Homemade Simple, which I'm guessing is like a homemaker site. And I'll just read it. It'll take a little bit longer than the other one.
Yep.
Whether it's a delicious recipe, an inspiring decor idea, or a refreshing approach to organising, we strive to help you create a home that's truly your own. Everything we do here is designed to empower and inspire you to make your home even better, and most importantly, a place you love to be. That's a long one. Which do you think's better?
Yeah. And they're very different. And I think it's important to go through it. The Southwest one, in all cases, that's their business purpose. That's why they're in. I mean, of course, that's your elevator pitch, right? Why are you in business? We're Southwest is in business because they felt that they wanted to give the luxury of travel to everyone and anyone in the world, and that's how they've done it. And then coming from that is their content. If I was going to create a true editorial mission out of what Southwest did, I'd have to put some more meat to it because I want to be very specific with who the buyer is. Are we talking to families? Are we talking to business people? Those types of things. But as a general business purpose, that's the one of the best business purposes on the planet from what Southwest came up with. Now, the one that you read from Procter & Gamble, that is on their site. They put that on there for their readers to say, because Homemade Simple targets, for the most part, they're targeting women who have jobs, who have families, who are busy and on the go, and they're trying to be that resource for it. That is the external showing of their internal editorial mission, because it gets a little bit confusing. But I guess the point is, it doesn't matter. I like simpler is better. I'm absolutely, if you can do it in less words. So if you come up with an editorial mission, I would take a real good look at it and say, hey, can I cut this in half?
Yeah.
And actually, let's take that out broader. Let's even take that out to like blog posts, Tim. If you write a blog post and it's 1,000 words or 2,000 words, I would really look at it and say, you know what? Can you cut that? Because not that longer. I mean, longer is great. I mean, a long form is kind of back in vogue in blog posts these days and online content. But I think the one thing we don't do is we don't edit ourselves enough with anything that we do. So if you look at any kind of content you're creating, boy, you get yourself a good editor, copywriter to cut everything you're doing in half so that you can be more succinct and basically more respectful of people's time in engaging in your content.
It's a lot easier to be long.
It's a lot
easier to be verbose.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember what's the quote, the famous quote. It's something about, I would have made this shorter, but I just didn't have enough time. I mean, that's
right. Yeah.
It's really because you can go on and on forever, but boy, true editing. So like just kind of tip out there for any small businesses listening. One of the best things that you could invest in, even for, freelance, is a really, really good editor to take a look at all the content you're creating.
Well, absolutely. Editor / copywriter.
Yeah,
someone
absolutely.
who knows this stuff. Great communicator. I was only talking to someone yesterday actually about this, the TED talk. It's an 18-minute talk. It's so much easier, and people will go. Well, anyone who's scared of public speaking will go. Well, either are going to be hard, but as a speaker, it's much easier to give a 60 to 90 minute keynote than it is an 18-minute one. I've not had to give an 18-minute one, but I'm reckoning it'd be a lot harder.
Oh, I've got a 12-minute one coming up. Oh. And it's I mean, what can you do in 12 minutes? I mean, basically you just take out all the introduction, you take out all the stuff that nobody cares about. The challenge with that is you still want to throw in some jokes here and there, so you got to keep it light. So basically it means you can get one big point out of that. Give them one thing, and that's the same with all of our content. Give them one thing, and if you can get them to do something with that one thing, it'll make things happen for your business.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, any piece of content really should, whether you're creating a video or a podcast episode or writing a blog post or even an ebook, whatever it is, I mean, you really should focus on that one thing, and drive that point home and move on to the next time.
Yeah, I mean, if it's covering more than one thing, you have two pieces of content there.
Yeah,
so don't try to do all things with one piece of content.
Absolutely. Now, okay, pennies dropping for me. I hope it is for our listeners, Joe. Really interested now to say, okay, we've got, let's use the Small Business Big Marketing editorial mission as the working case study, because I want to know then what does one do with it once you've got it. It becomes a filter. It becomes a filter for then going, okay, I'm now going to head off on a content creation strategy. I've got my editorial mission under my arm. I know what it's all about. How do I effectively apply it to decide on what content to create? Alrighty, I am going to stop Joe right there. I hope you got some marketing gems from that. I hope you are so well on your way to identifying your editorial mission, because such an important part of your content marketing strategy. There is lots more to go in that fireside chat I had with Joe. If you want to access it, go to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and join the forum. You are going to love it. Not only are you going to get the balance of that interview with Joe, there's so much more marketing gold inside that forum. All the training that I've ever created lives inside there. My online marketing masterclass, my Site Boost product that reveals the characteristics of a high-performing website. Plus, there's an entire virtual room of other motivated small business owners asking questions of their business and answering questions of other people's businesses from a marketing perspective. You're going to love it. It's my little way of bringing us all together and talk about how to use marketing in an effective business building way. $49 a month, guys. It is cheap. It's kind of a lot cheaper than a cup of coffee a day and not as expensive as a Lamborghini. Something like that. Anyway, enough from me. Hope you enjoyed it. Go and get that editorial mission sorted. If you do, leave a comment in the show notes for episode 139 of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. I'd love to see it. And if you do decide to join the forum, then we are going to start a thread where you can share your editorial mission with others and get feedback on it. Guys, thanks for being a part of the Small Business Big Marketing Tribe. A big round of applause to our wonderful friends at Net Registry who help get our online marketing sorted. And if your website isn't in order, then it needs to be, because that's all part of the content marketing strategy. That's where people are going to go to check you out. Once you've got that blog or that podcast, or you're doing that video marketing or publishing books or whatever it is, Net Registry can help you get your your website sorted, your online marketing sorted. And until next week, where we have some fantastic guests coming your way, and I'll be in Dubai giving a keynote talk, or running a workshop actually, to a whole lot of financial advisors. May your marketing be the absolute best marketing. See you later.
You've been listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show with Tim Reid. Want more marketing goodness? Then visit smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.